Cue that music.
That was good. The kind of music to be getting on the program. This is the best intro yet, you guys. Gotta say, you guys did it. Grady, thumbs up. There's thumbs up.
So Wyatt, we were rizzing it up big time last night. The three of us.
Riz. Yeah.
So much Riz in one room. It was a good time at the watch party. Let's start with that. Your thoughts. That was your first Canucks Army watch party, was it not?
It was, yeah, I know. It was actually, I packed it in pretty good there, boys. And I gotta say, it's a weird thing with the Greta washrooms are like top notch. Like, because the Cabby's really close. The Cabby's got some of the worst washrooms in all of Vancouver. But the Greta, it's like individual stalls. They've got delightful soap dispense, all clean. So that's the way to my heart. So yeah, shout out to Greta. That was a good time and good food, and it's good seeing everyone there and just chatting up. And got to meet Trent, and it was fun, and Tyson. So it's good to put some names to faces.
It was a great time. It wasn't all good for the Canucks, as we saw at that watch party while we were watching the game. Just your thoughts on last night's game.
Yeah, I mean, they do look tired, right? They look like a tired team, but there is a difference between a tired team that's still trying to make things work and a tired team that maybe is kind of like, we're kind of tired. Like they kind of buy into the fact they're tired to give themselves a bit of a break, and that's what it kind of felt like. And I think that's what Taka kind of alluded to, like, hey, like, there's gonna be some tough times ahead, and like this is nothing compared to what the playoffs are going to be like. So, and I've said it in the Stanchies before. Taka loves tests; it's all about tests. You're learning from it. So this is a very good kind of learning thing to get through. It's a tough stretch. I said before the game they're going to go to 5-game losing streak. I don't think they're winning against Boston. I just think it's going to be too much of a too short turnaround. But I do think they will bounce back. But it's definitely a thing where, um, you know, Tokic did the nice thing of saying, "Oh, it's on me for not getting prepared," but he's going to have this team like that was not good enough. And he's right. There were some guys that were invisible, and I've been on McCabe's case for a while now, and he, the stats he's came through and showed that was one of McCabe's worst games. So Mike pointed out too, like he has not been good enough for the amount of money he gets paid. It kind of reminds you a bit of the Benning era, where you've got a guy that's getting paid, $4+ million on your fourth line now, and that's not a spot you want any team to be in, especially one that's trying to go far in the playoffs.
There's been a lot of conversation recently around the power play, a lot of different theories. What are you noticing with the man advantage and why it's lacking effectiveness right now?
I think part of it is, like, could just be luck. Like, that's always the thing that we always kind of forget. But it just feels like watching this team that they are overthinking things a bit. And like Ronek's kind of the poster child for overthinking things. I remember there's the first period against the Kraken. He has the puck inside his blue line, not power play yet, but he's inside his own blue line. And he's looking to make the perfect pass for at least, a half second, a second, and then doesn't get it out. And then they're hemmed in for 2 minutes. And that's the kind of emblematic of what's going on. Like they're overthinking things. They're making these passes. They're bobbling the puck, but it's adding fatigue, overthinking, luck. And I think that's what's kind of coming together now to make it look really bad. And even that being said, like I'm not trying to bury Heroic here, but I don't think that guy's the answer. Like I know the 2D in the power play is a bit archaic, and I don't think he's got the speed to really I know that the crossover with Hughes they works really well, but I just don't think he's the guy out there. And he's not he's got a good shot, but he's not a guy like Salo who's gonna kill you with that shot, right? He's not getting off quick enough. So I think we joke about Kuzmenko was a stir that maybe the straw that stirred the drink, but I just think back then they were just like their puck movement was a bit crisper. They were getting shots off, and everyone's gonna be talking about it. JT Miller at the half wall seems to be a bit more effective for them when they have him kind of skating into it, right? Like I just feel like Roenick, and you were mentioning it, Harmon, last night, like Roenick on the half wall. Sorry, Hughes on the half wall. I don't think that's the best use of him. Like it really isn't. Like he's distributing the puck and letting him kind of free will around is the best use of him.
Connor Garland got into a fight. Didn't go super well. Your thoughts on Connor Garland dropping the gloves with Brandon Tanev?
He cut Tanev. Like Tanev was the UFC style. Tanev was unleashing like that was. I was watching like what is going on? Like that would look like it was personal. And I know there was the poll that came out, like Garland's got one of the most punchable faces. Like he just gets under people's skins, and we don't. Maybe he's saying things softly and whispering things, right, like the Alex Burrows style. But he seems to get under people's skin and fighting. I know JT Miller got all like you went to the box, getting a little fist bump. Like yeah, way to go. And there's a level of fighting that is good for the team. But we just saw Dakota Joshua go with an injury for a while because of a fight. Connor Garland, you don't necessarily need him going in a fight right now. Like this is the time where like I get it, you want to push back, but I just don't think he needs to be fighting. And it's not like he's a big guy either. So, like, imagine Garland gets injured. All of a sudden, like, that third line has been such a boon to this team. That third line has saved them so many times this year. Like, you just got to get that line back together. Don't fight. Niels Amon, what are you doing, buddy? Just get in there. Like that, jump in. That could be his job, right? Like, he hasn't done much lately. Like, leave the fighting to the fourth liners at this point.
Yeah, no kidding. Dakota Joshua, you mentioned it. He's
Yeah.
also out. That was the first thing I thought of was, okay, what if both of these guys go down? Um, how much is this team missing Dakota Joshua right now?
It's always tough, right? Because we're going at like a 4-game losing streak, kind of. We're looking at everything kind of on the table, and you're like, what's wrong? What's causing this on that? And so it is easy to point to Joshua, and maybe we're heightening his, disappearance from the lineup maybe a little too much. But I do think it is an impact for sure, because I think him and Garland kind of had some chemistry, and the whole third line does. But like Garland, as we've seen, he's really good at high danger passing. He's really good at setting people up. And I think Dakota figured out how to play with Garland. He knows how to use that space that Garland creates for you, and he takes the puck to the net hard. And I think about like he's the guy that drives the net. You look at it like once Dakota's out of the lineup, like every once in a while Lafferty will drive to the net, sure, but like Dakota's the guy that drives that puck. JT Miller as well, but Dakota will on that third line will just drive to the net, drive to the net. And so if Garland gives him space, he would just drive to the net. So missing that aspect of that line, like they're trying to fit guys in there who can do that same thing, and no one's kind of fitting in the same way. And yeah, maybe they're playing well defensively at times, but like they were getting the offense as well. That's why that line was so lethal. And so without Dakota there, like they're just, and fair enough, some guys are kind of fit into that. It's going to take a while, but for a team that's trying to like keep the Edmonton Oilers in the rearview mirror, like that has been a huge loss for the team.
There's been some debate these days about Elias Pettersson, his performance. Some people criticizing him pretty harshly, saying he's not worth 12 million, and not even in relation to the contract, but the point being that they're really disappointed with his play recently, whereas others are a little bit more forgiving and looking at it more from the sense of just, hey, it's a rough patch. Even star players go through highs and lows. Where do you stand with Pettersson's game recently?
Yeah, I mean, he's still putting up points. I think there's probably could be a bit more coming from him, but you're getting a lot of the comments that people used to give the Sedins, like he falls down so much, like he's not showing up at big games, and people would try their own city would go after the Sedins, and near the end of the career, everyone's like, "Oh, the Sedins were great." Everyone else attacked them, like for forgetting that they themselves did the same things. And Pedersen, the same, getting a lot of that. He's falling down way too much. He's not doing enough. And I mean, even look in Toronto, like Mitch Marner gets a lot of crap too. Like these top players, like again, they're a lot's expected of them, and fair enough, but sometimes there is going to be a little too much where like you expect them to take over the league and be the top number one guy in the league. And I think it's just the white noise of his contract that's surrounding, because that's almost half the time the comment followed up with it. This guy wants 12 million from us. And it's like, that's kind of what's followed up with it as. And it's like, no one even really knows what's being said. They're just kind of taking like, reports and kind of like putting their own thoughts into it. And people are getting riled up. And I think overall though, Pettersson has, has he been the best this season lately? No. Can he play better? For sure. But he's still one of their top players. And, that's the kind of guy that come playoff time, I think him and JT Miller are going to be guys that are going to step it up. So I'm not worried about him, but I do think it's fair to say like, hey, like maybe you get a bit more out of him.
I wanted to ask you, kind of just looking at it big picture. We had someone in the chat, Nar, who threw this out about the skid being ideal. The boys just got swept, and now they have to figure it out. Look at what happened to Boston last year with all their regular season success. Is that a bridge too far for you, or are you looking at this and saying, okay, there's some silver lining here potentially?
I do think it's good, because I think things have gone like that's the whole thing of the PDO. Like how many like that. My favorite stat is like they are like the most lethal team off the rush. They just score goals. It always goes in. Like to them, like it's almost too easy at times. So I think they do need the idea of like, oh, we got to dig deep now. Like we're playing down goals. We're now, we're not like getting the goals coming as easily, and we've got some injuries. Like because that's going to happen in the playoffs. It always happens unless you're the stupid LA Kings in 2012. You always get injuries. So it's going to happen to this team. They're going to find a way to fight through this. And again, like Boston is the perfect test, because that's like in the playoffs, you're going to be down maybe 3-1 in a series, and that top team's still staying right across from you. So they got to treat this game almost as like, hey, boss, this is a perfect chance for us to go, hey, we're a playoff team. That's a top team across from the table from us. We got to figure a way out to not just like play well, but win this game. Like that to me is the biggest test they can have.
Wyatt, I love it. They practiced today, so again, we'll see. Jeff was there, Harmon was there as well. We'll see how they respond tomorrow. But as always, thanks for doing this, Wyatt. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, boys. It was good rizzing up with you, and I'll see you at the next event.
Riz you later. All right,
Riz out.
see ya. Riz out.
Canucks Conversation with Harmon and Quads every weekday at 2 p.m. Be sure to check it out on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. And if you missed it, go check it out on your favorite podcast catcher app.